His name keeps popping up for the Panthers in like very, very just checking in ways, right? I know I wasn't invited, but what's going on here? Reportedly was in the state of North Carolina a couple days ago, in the Charlotte area. Maybe because Michigan has a quarterback commit that is from that area. Could also be two birds with one stone. I'll check in with my old boy David Tepper, my old pal, and I'll check in on my recruit, see how things are going.
Just in the neighborhood.
Figured
I'd stop by.
I mean, I heard awesome concerts come to Bank of America. I'd like to see what they have to offer.
It'd be rude to eat and run.
Do you want him, first of all? If it's a yes or a no, you can let me know on Twitter at Donnelly Sports, DONNELLY SPORTS. There is a trend that keeps popping up with names being linked to the Panthers, or a common denominator, if you will. It's David Tepper's ego. Every name that gets brought up to me feels like it has to pass the first kind of checkpoint of, does this appease an owner with a ton of ego? Belichick, Harbaugh. These guys are celebrities, right? These guys are, if you're in the know in college football, you run in those circles, right? A high ego would be like, I have Jim Harbaugh coaching for me. He took Michigan to the college football playoff in back-to-back years and then left to join me. I don't know why I gave David Tepper like a royal accent from Pittsburgh. It's a little different. He left Yins to join me. There you go. That's better. Ben Johnson. You know what? Ben Johnson might not be the celebrity, but you know what Ben Johnson is? He's the offensive coordinator for the Lions, who's the betting favorite to be the next Panthers coach. He's a guy who turned down Tepper last year. And there is something ego-filled with, you turned me down, now I'm going to make it my life's goal to get you to say yes. There's something ego about that. So I do think, and the kind of the conversation around who's going to be the Panthers' next coach has understood that the names that make the most sense are the names that do kind of feed the ego of the owner a bit. And there are pros and cons to all of the options. So let's run through the pros and cons quickly of Jim Harbaugh. Here are the pros. And I've said this is maybe priority number one for the next coach. He is headstrong enough, experienced enough, and comforted in his kind of reputation and legacy enough to fight back against David Tepper. There's a lot of rumors about who in that building actually wanted Bryce Young and who in that building may have wanted C.J. Stroud. Right? And by the way, they're all rumors. We're never going to know for certain unless you have some kind of recording system in the war room or the scouting department of the Panthers. You're never going to know. But it's plausible that somebody like Frank Reich would have wanted C.J. Stroud, and when Tepper said we're going with Bryce Young, they said, okay, let's flip out Frank Reich for Jim Harbaugh there. Jim Harbaugh wants C.J. Stroud. David Tepper wants Bryce Young. Who you think they're drafting? I think it's much more plausible to say Jim Harbaugh is going to throw a fit, a rage-filled tantrum until the quarterback he gets is the one he wants. I think that's important. Right? I think there's somebody in that building that needs to be able to look at David Tepper and say, listen here, Stocks boy, Stocks man, stock trader. Right? I am a football guy. Listen here. When you were on Wall Street worrying about buy and sell, I was worrying about weak side zone blitzes. You want to know a fun fact about Jim Harbaugh? One of my favorite stats of all time.
What's that?
Jim Harbaugh has more NFL rushing yards than Bo Jackson. Yeah. If your face just popped up the way Dennis's did.
Say that again one more time so I can process
Jim Harbaugh has more NFL rushing yards than Bo Jackson. So you're telling me David Tepper's going to talk to that guy and win? No, sir.
Huh.
No, sir. Another pro for Jim Harbaugh. He is probably in demand enough, meaning high-priced college contracts, meaning I believe the Raiders would be all over him if he became a possibility. There are multiple NFL teams that would be all over him if he became a possibility. He is probably in demand enough to get a contract that might actually lead to a little bit of patience from David Tepper, right? We're talking about like a Jimbo Fisher-style buyout. And if you get that deal, you might get 2 or 3 years to figure out if you're building a foundation there, and I think that's important. You bring in Jim Harbaugh, you're going to have to give him more than 11 games that you gave Frank Reich. I think that's a positive. Here are the cons with Jim Harbaugh. He's an acquired taste. Bit of a unique guy, right? And that goes for a multitude of reasons. One, like the full glass of milk and a steak and the khakis and the like, just the weird. Also, do you remember the reports that he was sleeping over at recruits' houses?
Yeah, kind of weird.
Like he was climbing a tree at a recruit's backyard. He's a different frequency than a lot of guys, right? And he does seem to wear out welcomes kind of quickly. Now, the Michigan is a little bit different because right as he was wearing out his welcome, he started beating Ohio State, and then they're kind of like, well, actually, maybe we should give this guy another shot. And now he's back to being in demand. But I think it's one of the few that could actually go well in Panther Nation. I think it's one of the few, right? It's going to take somebody like Harbaugh, like Belichick, somebody that's proven to make it work with David Tepper. And by the way, David Tepper wants to win, okay? I think part of the problem with him meddling is the guys who he's hired, he haven't been able to look to him and say, no, I know what it's going to take to win. I know what it's going to take. You say, this is what I think. If he has somebody down there on the field that's like, no, I know what it takes to win. I know because I've done it, because I've been there, because I've been around it. Then maybe he won't be so tempted to, draw on a piece of paper a play that he saw on television and say, why aren't we running this one? He's maybe a bit more tempted to trust. And yes, he is an acquired taste and he's a strange guy, but let's be real. Panther fans, they can embrace a little weird. Right? They can.
Why not?
He's a weirdo, but he's our weirdo. Like that kind of thing. They can do that. They can wear khakis. Right?
Does he win?
That's
be as weird as you want, as long as you win.
He has so far.
Bingo, there it is.
He has so far. How about that? I do 8 minutes on the pros and cons. I break it down. What do you need for Tepper? Dennis comes in with, does he win? Segment closed. This is a yes or no question. I think you're making it too complicated, Tim. Does he win? Case closed. I like it.